Okay, so today I want to talk about performance anxiety. So, for the last couple of days, I've been on first aid, pediatric first aid course, because as a peripatetic teacher, you want to be able to be in control of situations. If a student, happens to have an accident or any needs medical attention, you want to be able to sort of appropriately deal with that. And my first aid needed renewing, so I went and did it today. And it's amazing the sort of stuff that you cover in those 2 days. I mean, typically in the course they don't talk about mental health and illness, but because of the company that were providing the course, they provide mental health first aid. And it's split into two sections. You've got people that have mental health issues like stress, anxiety, and etc. And then you've got people that have the mental health illnesses, like myself, with trichotillomania, anxiety, depression, and things like that. And one thing that has got really, really bad recently is my hair, and I think that's due to the fact that I've really struggled, probably since my probably since about the end of June, mid July. Now, to my friends and family, I would have been normal because I'd lost quite a lot of weight and I was like, feeling good. It was sunny and the summer was okay. But from my perspective, I've made the decision to leave a job that I really enjoyed. I just didn't enjoy who I worked for. And I made the decision to fully be self-employed. So a few years ago, I worked at my children's school and I had a nervous breakdown. I had to leave, and then I started to work in another job, and that was, I realised that I wasn't getting any happiness out of it. Out of something that I love doing. Teaching music is something that I've always loved doing. I've always wanted to do. I've always felt inferior in every other aspect of my life. Like I wouldn't consider myself the most organised person. I wouldn't consider myself to be academic in the sense of the word, where I'm very good at writing and things like that. I've always excelled in music and performing arts. That's just been, you know, my thing. And so when something that you love and is the only thing that you know that you can do well begins to become a thing that you then start to worry about, you've got to ask yourself a question, well, what's wrong? We need to fix that. So I left working for this company or this service, and then ended up being fully self-employed. And I think I didn't admit to myself how scared, how terrified I was about being responsible for my own sort of. I think when you're in a job where it's salaried, you just go to work, you do the job, you get paid. Whereas if you are responsible for, like, literally basically providing the service, but then asking for money for it, it becomes quite tricky. And I'm one of those individuals that I love what I do. I don't do it for money. I love genuinely what I do. And then you get people saying, you haven't sent me an invoice. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so this year, I've had to become better at it. And I think the fear of failure is sort of over the summer, it sort of made me a little bit anxious, a lot anxious actually, and led to me sort of becoming depressed shortly after my children went back to school. And I was depressed for over 3 months. I mean, to be honest, I'm coming out of it, which is why I decided to document and set up this channel, because I realised that I'm not the only person that feels like this, and there are a lot of young people, especially students I teach, that probably feel like this, and I wanted to help. And talking about things helps me massively. I am a talker. If anyone knows me knows I could talk for England. But sometimes you talk, but you don't actually say what you really mean. And I am guilty of that. I would say that for the majority of my life, I've always said things but never really said what I mean. And I've started to do it recently. I think it can surprise people when you just come out with, actually, no, that's really rubbish. And then people are like, what? And it's like, well, yeah. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and make it, go through all this rigmarole. If you want the truth, if you want transparency, I'm giving it to you. So that part of it was okay, but the other part of it, which was the feeling unworthy, the feeling not good, the feeling that especially in performance, that really started to affect me profoundly. And so I participated in a show with my daughter called Hairspray, and I was Mouth Maybelle, and I loved it. I loved, learning more about, or being, because I always immerse my character. Being Maybelle was the best thing. In the same way that Dolores really helped me shortly after my dad died. I was in Sister Act and I played Dolores, and it was just a breakthrough for me because I then started to have a little bit of belief in myself, in my capabilities. And so doing this with my daughter was an amazing experience. I was exhausted though. I was exhausted mentally. And halfway through the rehearsal run, I broke down in front of everyone. And do you know what? It was the smallest thing. I forgot a line. Or I fluffed up lines. Like, it was like literally the information was not there. It wasn't there, even though I knew what I had to say. And that was it. And I just was in tears, and I started talking to someone, and then it just came out. I'm depressed. I've got depression, and I'm really struggling at the moment to just, yeah. And the thing is that when you start to have thoughts that the world, your family, your friends, the people that you know will be better off without you, I think that is a sign that you need to talk to somebody. And I did start to feel like I wondered if people would really be bothered if I didn't show up the next day. But the one thing that always, whenever these sort of thoughts, they flit through your brain, at certain points in your life where you are feeling very broken, very mentally fatigued, the one thing, or the three things, should I say, are my husband and my children. Those are the three things or the three people that I think about who wouldn't be better off if I wasn't here. And then because you realise that, how much happier they are because you are here, it sort of snaps you back. But for a lot of people, they don't see that. And that's why you have people taking their lives. My friend did that when we were 21. And even now, I sort of wish she'd rang me. I'm not feeling great. I need some support. I would have been over in a flash. My best friend did that a few years, I say a few years, about 9 years ago. My best friend rang me, or I rang her, because I think we were supposed to meet or something happened, and I could tell instantly that she wasn't right. And at the time she lived in York. So I just got in the car with my baby, with my infant child, about a couple of months old, and I just drove to York and just was sat there with her. And I'm like, right, we're doing this today. we're doing this today. And she's like, I can't believe you come all this way. And I'm like, you're my best friend. This is what friends do. And I would rather drive the hour drive than be driving to your funeral. So, I mean, I don't think it was that severe, but the sentiment is there. You'd rather have that sport. So, anyway, I've digressed massively. My main point of this post was performance anxiety. So, I had the opportunity to go to a hang and jam sort of thing. There's this great, absolutely wonderful music venue that's opened up near my house called Tapestry. And I am literally going to tell every friend that I know to, whenever they're holding events, you need to go, because it's such a beautiful space. And I've just spent an evening with the most amazing musicians. I actually felt inferior. I felt like the crap one out of the group, because I didn't know anyone. And a lot of the tunes that were being played, I didn't have a clue. And then they're like, come on, play the saxophone. And I'm like, what key are you in? Because if you are in a really awful key, I am not only going to have to play a song and transpose it, I'm also going to have to play a song that I don't know and transpose it, and play in front of a load of people that I don't know, transposing a song that I don't know. And so this is what happened, and it was just, I lost all confidence. I lost every ounce of confidence that I had. Like, I go into this mode when I'm performing. I'm not Monique. I'm like, I don't know, Shonda. And Shonda is the most confident woman on the planet. Her hair's on point, her makeup's on point, her clothes are on point. She got this swag. She wears this big fur coat. And Shonda is just the dog's bee. She's it. I want Shonda tonight, our mousy mon. And I sang a few numbers and that were all right. But then when I got up to play the saxophone, I just didn't feel like, anyone who knows me on I can hold myself. I can hold my own on my saxophone. I mean, I'm a woodwind player. I've been playing for 25 years. So a quarter of a decade of playing and learning, and all of that went out the window today, and I just felt really shit, and I was so annoyed at myself. And I was like, oh, it's just a jam session, no one's bothered, it's fine. I were bothered, because at the end of the day, somebody who could have been my boss is sat watching me mess up. I'm aware that there might be my students watching this post, watching me mess up, and it really upset me, to the point where I just called it an early night. I was just like, oh, I'm really tired, I'm gonna go. And I just felt really poo. I've come home and I thought, you know what, I need to blog about this. I need to vlog about this, sorry, not blog, but vlog. And talk about it. And it is a horrible thing to have performance anxiety, because the thing is that any of you who suffer where you get really bad panicky palpitations, and you're worried about what everyone's thinking of you, or you're worried about whether you're going to play the right notes and things like that. And I do have students that have this, and so to those of you, I'm saying you need to take really deep breaths. Don't hyperventilate or pass out though. Make sure that you sat down and just calm yourself, and find yourself in a place where it's safe, where you feel warm, where you feel there's no sort of judgment, recrimination, anything like that. And then think of the thing that makes you the most happy. And then once you focus on that, you will immerse yourself in your performance. And so for me, I had no qualms about singing, because what I did was I focused myself on the act of performing. So when I did, well, sometimes I go out by myself and I look across the water and I think of all the things what you done, and in my head I paint a picture. I just had it. I didn't even think about the words. And then I had to pick up my saxophone, and that was when I started to sort of lose it a bit. But I've learnt a lesson. I've learnt that I need to not overanalyze every little bit. When you're jamming, you're jamming. So wrong notes are going to come out. When you're gigging and you're performing professionally, you need to know your stuff. So I think because of my situation is that I've not jammed as much in the last sort of 3 or 4 months. It's always been gigs, and I've always told myself I can do each gig better than the last. I've never, up until now, I've never had the perfect gig. I've never had that gig where I've got, well, you wouldn't do that really, but I've never had that where I'm completely satisfied with my performance on a gig. I've always had something to critique. So that's my aim now, is to sort of work hard at getting my act polished. And then that way, if things do go wrong, at least I know that I've done all the prep, and which, to be honest, is the majority of the time. But it's one of those things that when you're sort of worrying about stuff, it can affect your delivery. So, but just stay calm. With performance anxiety, you need to stay calm. You need to remember that you are capable of what you are about to do, or else you wouldn't have got to that point in the first place. So, yeah, I need to watch this back to myself to give myself some confidence, I'm pretty sure. But it's a long one today, sorry, 17 minutes. You can skip forward. Okay, bye peeps.